I used to believe that if you worked hard and kept your head down, life would eventually meet you halfway. That belief didn't come from books or motivation videos. It came from watching my parents work themselves tired and still show up every morning. It came from being told over and over that effort mattered, that loyalty mattered. So I built my life around that idea. I'm a single mother living in a small apartment outside Columbus, Ohio. Nothing fancy. Beige walls, thin carpets that never quite feel clean, a kitchen light that flickers if you don't twist the switch just right. But it was home, and for a long time, I was proud of the fact that I held it together on my own. Every morning followed the same rhythm. My alarm rang at 5:30, long before the sun decided to care. I would lie still for a moment, counting the things I had to do that day, hoping my body wouldn't argue back. I'd get up quietly so I wouldn't wake my daughter, pack her lunch, cut apples into slices she might not eat, and tie her shoelaces while she talked about dreams that didn't yet know the words overtime or rent increase. Then I'd drop her at school and drive straight to work, my coffee cooling in the cup holder because I never had time to drink it. Work was a mid-sized insurance company, accounts processing, not important enough to have an office, not invisible enough to be ignored, the kind of job where people forget you exist until something goes wrong, and then suddenly you're essential. I stayed late, I covered shifts when others called in sick, I answered emails on weekends, convincing myself that being dependable meant being safe. When people said, "We're like a family here," I smiled and believed them. That was my first mistake. The pressure didn't arrive loudly. It crept in quietly, disguised as normal life. Rent went up by $200 with no real explanation beyond market rates. Groceries that used to cost $80 became $150. My daughter needed braces. My car started making a noise I pretended not to hear because I didn't want to know how much it would cost. So I worked more. I volunteered for overtime before anyone could ask. I skipped lunch without mentioning it. I told myself this was just a rough season and that strong women don't complain, they adjust. One Thursday afternoon, my manager called me into her office. She smiled, the kind of smile that feels practiced in front of a mirror. "We've noticed your dedication," she said. "You're one of our most reliable employees." For the first time in months, my chest loosened. I felt seen, valued. Then she slid a paper across the desk, a temporary role, more responsibility, training new hires, handling escalations, fixing mistakes that weren't mine. Same pay. "But it'll look great on your record," she added. I signed it without reading the fine print. Weeks turned into months. The word temporary stretched thin like it was hoping I'd forget it ever existed. I arrived earlier, left later, took work home in my head even when I didn't take it home on paper. When I asked for a raise, I was told budgets were tight. When I mentioned my workload, I was told everyone's stretched right now. When I said I was tired, I said it softly, like an apology. At home, the cracks started showing. My daughter asked why I was always tired, why I missed school events, why I sat at the kitchen table after dinner staring at nothing like I was waiting for something bad to happen. I didn't have answers. I just hugged her and promised things would get better. Then the email came. It arrived on a Monday morning at 9:12 a.m., titled "Quick Check-In." No explanation, just a calendar invite for 9:30. I remember staring at the screen while my coffee sat untouched beside the keyboard. My heart started beating faster for reasons I couldn't explain yet. My hands felt cold. When I walked into the conference room, HR was already there. They spoke carefully, slowly, like they were reading from a script they'd practiced together. They talked about restructuring, about difficult decisions, about how my role was being eliminated, effective immediately. My access would be cut by noon. They mentioned a small severance, like it was a kindness. I asked one question, just one. What about the temporary role, the extra responsibilities? My manager didn't meet my eyes. That position was never permanent, she said. I nodded. I thanked them and walked out holding a cardboard box that felt heavier than it should have. I drove home before lunch. The sun felt too bright for what I was carrying. I sat in my car outside the apartment and cried so quietly you'd have thought I was practicing. That night, after my daughter fell asleep, I spread bills across the kitchen table. Rent, utilities, school fees, medical insurance. Numbers stared at me without sympathy. For the first time in my adult life, I was afraid. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that sits in your chest and whispers, "What if this is it?" Weeks passed. Rejection emails piled up. "We went with another candidate," or "Your experience is impressive, but..." My savings shrank. My sleep disappeared. Some nights I woke up at 3 a.m. doing math in my head, trying to make impossible numbers behave. I smiled for my daughter. I lied when I said everything was fine. And then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A call from a woman I barely remembered, a former coworker who had left months earlier. She said, "I heard what happened. I'm sorry, but listen, I know a place. They're hiring. It's not glamorous, but they're honest." I didn't care about glamorous. I cared about breathing again. The job paid less, the office was smaller, but when I asked about expectations, they were clear. When I asked about growth, they were honest. No speeches about family, no promises they couldn't keep. On my first paycheck, I cried again, but differently this time. Not because everything was fixed, but because I understood something I wish I'd learned sooner. Hard work doesn't protect you. Loyalty isn't insurance. And sometimes losing what you trusted is the only way to stop giving your life to places that would replace you by noon. If you're watching this and you feel tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, you're not weak. You're not failing. You're just human in a system that forgets that too easily. And if this story felt familiar, take a second to like and subscribe so these quiet stories reach people who need to feel less alone. I'm still working, still paying bills, still tired some days, but I don't confuse survival with loyalty anymore.